Okay, this third tutorial for modeling is going to consist of looking at what we can do to model the hands and actually attach them here to the arms, which is a component of modeling that definitely needs to be looked at. Because right now, I mean, as you can see, I've definitely done some work on the model since the last tutorial. Still not as perfect as I would like it. I'm not really too worried about this area because we're eventually going to have some sort of clothes on this character. We're going to look at how to do that as well in a later tutorial. But you know, since the last tutorial, I've probably put in I'd say anywhere between another 10 to 15 hours of modeling to get the legs and everything kind of the way that you see them. I've definitely not 100% happy with the feet and the toes. Obviously there's still more we can do here, but I just kind of wrapped it up real quick. I was ready to move on to the next tutorial. So what we're going to look at is actually taking, because you know this whole entire character so far has just been box modeled, extruded faces from that original box to get to this point, and then obviously cutting and adding segments and deforming as we need. As you can see, the more detail you get, the more that the topology starts to get a little screwy. We're going to take a look at ways that we can fix some of these areas, some of these problem areas that I've left on purpose so that we can cover it in this tutorial. So let's go ahead and get this started. One of the things that we're going to do, like I said, is actually look at how to go about doing the hands and some things that we need to think about concerning that. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. The first thing I'm going to do is hide this guy, because we're going to start with a brand new object. We're going to go ahead and model out the hands from a new box, and we're going to attach it to the mesh. Now this box is actually going to represent the hand itself, and now we need the fingers. I'm going to make just some adjustments here because I know I want the hand to be pretty big, and I'm not concerned obviously size of this hand compared to the character at this moment. I'm going to just try to get a nice hand modeled at this point. So I know I'm going to want a box, and for the fingers are basically cylinders. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a cylinder, and I'm going to rotate it down, and obviously, as you can see, we're almost there. But some of the things that I need to be concerned with at this stage is we will always want to model from the lowest possible poly count to the highest, adding detail as we need it, are the sides here and the segments. Now, there are 3 digits in the fingers. Right now I've got 5 height segments. Now I've got 3, so one I can clearly see each digit. The other thing is I've got 18 sides right here, and these 18 sides are giving me more detail than I need at this moment. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring this down, and something like this is actually like 7 sides is really good. As you can see, we've got our sides. We got a nice flat surface. So we've definitely got some good definition here. The only thing that I would do is actually rotate this 180 degrees so that now we can have the top of the knuckles, and then we have a flat bottom for where the fingers are going to bend, and that gives us some nice information that we can deal with for the sides of the knuckles. The last thing is we need something here, and that's going to be our cap segments. So as we can see, we now have some information we can pull out to actually create the fingertip for us. So at this stage, I'm ready. I've got the preliminary base of the 2 objects that I need, so I'm going to go ahead and convert these to editable polys. Okay, And the next thing that I need to that I'm going to do is I'm going to actually start working on this finger and trying to get this ready to meet the hand. So what I'm going to do here is I'll come in and actually select on these polygons, pull them out, and then I'll just pull out that one like that, so that gives us a nice fingertip. Okay, the next thing that we need to be aware of is this finger is going to be connected to this object, and we need to make sure that it's open in this area. So I'm going to again turn ignore back facing on, and just be sure that we're not selecting anything around, and I'll control page up and hit delete. So now we've got a nice empty opening here that we can connect to the base of our hand. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to talk about some things we need to be aware of on our finger. Okay, even though we know we've got our digits, our 3 digits for the fingers, the last digit's always the smallest on a finger, and the first one here is going to be the longest. So I'm just going to play around with those a little bit, and let me turn my ignore back facing off because I just made a boo-boo. Just moved all those faces and all those vertices, and I didn't get the other side because I had my ignore back facing. So I'm going to turn that off. Okay, and we'll do that again. So this is our first digit, which is the smallest, then our second digit, and then our third, maybe a little longer, and probably about like that. Okay, now seeing as how this is the area that our finger is going to bend, just like our knees and our elbows, we need more information in this area. So what I'm going to do, after I've looped that selection, I know I'm going to do the same thing for this one, so I'm going to go ahead and select them both, loop them both, and do the chamfer one time. So I'm going to chamfer it a little bit, and I'm going to add that middle segment, and spread it out a little more, maybe like that. Okay, now I'm going to start positioning these guys. So for instance, these two I want to bring up because that's how the finger's actually going to bend, and by moving those up, I also want to make sure that I bring these up because that's going to be the knuckle. Okay, that's pretty good. Now one of the things that we could do would be to bring these in just so there's even more of a wrinkle where the finger is going to bend, like that. Okay, and we know that we're going to have a knuckle in this area because we have 1, 2, and we know we have 3 knuckles, and that knuckle is going to be created right around the area that the finger gets joined to our base hand. So we'll deal with that in a minute. What I want to look at now is actually creating the fingernail, because we're really almost done here with this finger, and we're ready to maybe go ahead and start cloning, making some copies, and doing some attachments. Excuse me. So I'm just going to make some little tweaks here on this finger and try to get a little bit more in the shape that I would like. Okay, and these polygons right here are going to be the fingernail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select on those, and we are going to do an inset, and That's actually not too bad, maybe a little less. Okay, so there's our fingernail, and now I'll just make some little adjustments like that. Okay, now we'll come back, and if we want to, we can go ahead and put a turbo smooth on it so we can see kind of what this finger is looking like, and what it will look like once we have the final look of the mesh. So I'm going to come back down, and to actually get the fingernail, and this is the same thing that I did for the toes, I'm going to extrude just a little bit, like so. Okay, and then I'm going to take these two polygons, and I'm going to do the same thing. Extrude out just a little bit, maybe like that. Okay, and now we will make some adjustments here. So I'll take those two edges, and we'll pull those back, and then I will go ahead and move them in. And here I could pull this guy out like that, pull that one out. Let's take a look at it from here, make sure we're doing kind of the same thing. Come on. Okay, so we'll pull that out about around there. So we have a fingernail. The only problem here, if we take a look at it in our when we actually put the mesh on, we can see that the fingernail is actually coming up and then out. The actual fingernail actually protrudes from underneath the skin, not it doesn't come out and then over. It actually protrudes from underneath the skin. So we have to figure a way of actually achieving that look, and one of the things that we could do would be to pull this guy up like that, and then do the same thing here, and now we would have we at least can see that it's achieving the same look. So that's one way that we can do it. Something else that we can do, which is kind of what I like to do, because I'm going to target weld these edges, or these vertices, and let's go ahead and because it actually reduces our polygon count, and also, I mean, as you can see, it kind of gives us that look that it's coming from within, but we just don't have that hard line anymore. So all I got to do, and just in case you're wondering, I can always roll my mouse to zoom, but if like right now, that's rolling my mouse without hitting anything else, just rolling or zooming my mouse. If I hold Alt down and roll my mouse, it cuts the roll in half. And the same thing works if I actually use my zoom tool. Okay, it has a certain speed, and then if I hold down Alt, it goes even slower, so I can really zoom in. So without holding Alt, it looks like that, and then now pressing Alt, it's slower, more controlled. So it's something that's good to know, to be aware of. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out, since I have been doing it for a while and not really telling anybody about it. Okay, so in order to really kind of get this look for the fingernail, it's not something I want to spend a great deal of time on, but it's definitely something that I want to look at here. And notice I'm just going to go around, and I'm just going to make some little tweaks, some little adjustments to my fingernail. And now all I'm going to do is cut in an extra edge right there. As we can see, it's already starting to give us that look. And now I'll just move that up. So let's take a look at it. So just by adding a little cut, we have ourselves a nice little fingernail sticking out there. Okay, and we can make some nice adjustments if we wanted to our fingers. And now is the time really if we want really big bulky knuckles, now is the time to make those adjustments. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now, because since this guy is really huge, I'll go ahead and give him some big knuckles as well. We have some other decisions that we could make, like would we want to ring and add another segment along here that maybe we could fatten the fingers like so. You know, those are all decisions that you'd have to make as a designer. I personally am okay without it because it's just the fingers. But if we wanted to down the road, we could make that decision. It'd be pretty easy to come back and make that adjustment. As you see, we could just do something like that. Now that gives us just a little bit more control over the way that the finger looks. You know, it's a very easy adjustment to do. And again, if I wanted to, I could pull up these polygons. If I wanted to, I could pull down, maybe move it back, or do all kinds of things with it and scale it out. So there's many things that we could do to our fingers to get the look that we want to. We don't always necessarily have to add more segments. I'm going to go ahead and ring and connect this area right here. Just the main reason being I just want to kind of set it up a little bit for that knuckle when we actually join it to the finger. Alright, and I'm not going to worry with it too much because we're going to have some work to do when we actually connect this finger to the hand. Okay, so at this point I'm actually ready to go ahead and make some copies. So my move tool, I'm going to hold shift and I'll move out 1, 2, 3, and there we go. So now we have our fingers. Okay, I'm going to use my scale tool, the middle finger. I'm going to scale it just on the X. It's going to be a little longer than the pointer finger and maybe a little bigger. Okay, now just on the X, I'm going to do this one like that. The pinky is the smallest, so we'll scale it back just a little. And we'll take this middle finger and we'll copy it over like this. And this will be the thumb, so we'll kind of rotate that into place. There's the thumb. Okay, and now I'm going to do just some little rotations for the hand and start moving them a little bit into place. The middle finger is going to stay straight. Let's get the pinky out the way for a second. Okay, there's the ring finger, and there's going to be the pinky, about like that. So that's about how I envision the fingers laying out. Obviously, the thumb is the most unique of the fingers because this first digit's actually buried within the fatty tissue of the hand. But for right now, we're going to leave it because it gives us the same knuckle and thumbnail. Okay, so with that, our fingers are ready to go. Now we just need to take a look at doing how we're going to bring this all together into our hand. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select the edge and we're going to ring it and connect, and I'm going to use the settings. Okay, so what we want is we want to have a segment that separates so that we can select and attach this finger to a polygon here, and then same thing here. So for example, right now as it looks, I've got a polygon for this finger, a polygon for this finger, that one, and that one. Okay, we're not worried with the thumb right now. We want to get these guys attached. Okay, so now that's going to work for us just fine because we want to have these guys attached right in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take these polygons and start to line them up with my fingers so that it'll be a straight shot like that. And we'll move this guy over a little bit there. We'll pull this one out. We'll pull this one out. Okay. So pinky was going to go there. That finger's attached there. Middle finger will go right in there. And I'm going to pull this edge back just a little. And our pointer will go in right there. Okay, so now let's take a look at what we actually have to do this attachment. Actually, before we do that, there's something that we need to do before we make this adjustment. The first thing being, I'm going to delete the turbo smooth off of all my fingers because we don't want, that was just a placeholder. Okay, so now that we've, just like we can see on our fingers, we have an opening for it to attach. We need to do the same thing on this part. However, the one thing that we're forgetting is the webbing in between the fingers. So I'm going to select on these three edges, go into my chamfer, and I want to chamfer it to give us a decent amount of webbing in between the fingers. We can add another segment if we want to, but I think that this will do it just fine for us for right now. Okay, so we've got the webbing. So now that's the polygon that we've got to get rid of. That's the one for there, that one for there, that one for there. Okay, now in order to do the attachment, there are some things we have to consider. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and attach these fingers to the hand. So I will go down to Edit Poly, make sure I'm not in any kind of sub-object. So I'm at the top level, and under Edit Geometry for Attach, I'll go ahead and say Attach all those fingers. Okay, so now they're one mesh. As you can see, there's the elements. Okay, so in order to attach them, this is what's got to happen. The vertices need to line up exactly so these guys could essentially weld together. So as we can see, this one's going to go here, this one would go here, then where would this one go? Right, we don't have a line up. So this one probably needs to meet a vertex around here so that this guy could come here, this one can come there, this guy's going to need a middle piece, this one will go there, and this one needs a middle piece. So we have some more segments that we need to add. And obviously if that's the case for this finger, it's going to be the case for every single finger. So I'll select on that guy and I'll hit ring. Okay, it rings all the way around. And then I'll just go ahead and select on these edges. Okay. I really don't need these. These are actually going to be deleted anyway, so I'm going to deselect them by holding Alt. So now, maybe we'll leave that one for the thumb. Okay, when we connect, we just want to connect with the settings, so we just have one. Okay, so our side vertice has a home, and now we just need a new segment that runs along the top here. So I'll just go ahead and select all those. Okay, so now we have all our vertices line up and have a place that they're going to go, which is what we want. Okie dokie. Now we're basically ready to go ahead and do our attach. We'll deal with the thumb in a second. One of the easiest ways to do this, I'm going to show you both ways. I'll show you the hard way first. Right click and we go target weld. We can target weld these guys like that and go along and do them all. But the easy way is to actually use border, and a border is an opening in the mesh, and notice we've got an opening in the mesh here and an opening in the mesh there. So all we would have to do is actually bridge. Let's go and find edit geometry, edit borders. We'll bridge. Now it's important here when we do the bridge on borders, so let's say I select this border, I'm going to bridge. It's very important which edge you pick, because if I say, okay, I want to bridge this edge to this one, notice it connects just fine, and it does the entire thing for us all the way around. But I could say, well, I want to bridge this edge to this one, and notice it will, but it twists it all up. So it's, sometimes that can give you a nice look, but just keep in mind that this is the kind of thing. See, like if we go into the settings, use specific borders, pick edge, this one, pick edge 2, let's say this one. Okay, we can add a twist in here, put some segments in there, taper. Okay, so there's a lot of things that we can do by using our bridge. And mainly the only thing we really are concerned with right now is just bridging this guy to here. And I need to go back because I've got those settings. I'm not really concerned. There we go. So now we can make adjustments as we need there. We'll go ahead and do the same thing. Bridge this one. It doesn't matter which one we choose, as long as we choose the mate, the direct opposite edge. Okay, so our fingers are attached. Notice by doing that we have a little bit more information in here to actually create our knuckles. So we'll go ahead and focus on doing the thumb. But before we do that, one of the things we want to do, let's go ahead and put that turbo smooth back on so we can take a look at how it's going to look. Okay, so it's not bad. If we set it to separate by smoothing groups, we can see that these are all different smoothing groups. Notice the fingertips are different. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to do now is unify all of the smoothing groups. So I'm going to select the entire thing, and then smoothing groups, clear, set them all to 1. So now they're straight. So even with separate by smoothing groups on, everything is still looking the way that it should. And we could technically go in and separate our fingernails because they are essentially different a different object than the skin that surrounds it. So if I select that whole fingernail and put it on 2, as we can see, the fingernail sticks out very nicely compared to the other fingernails. So, good to know. I actually think that looks really good, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. And you can see all I had to do was select the top, control page up, and then deselect what I don't want. Turn off 1, set it to 2. So select the top of the nails, control page up, and then hold Alt and deselect what I don't want. Turn off 1, set it to 2. Control page up, and then deselect what I don't want. Turn off, set it to 2, and we'll do the last one. Control page up, deselect what we don't want, turn off 1, set it to 2. And there we go. We've got fingernails that stand out really nice for us. Okay, so let's take a look at how we're going to get this thumb on here. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the turbo smooth for a second. And like I said, one of the things that's different about our thumb is that this digit right here, this first digit on the thumb, is actually buried within the fatty tissue of the hand. So I'm going to get rid of it. And by doing that, what I'm essentially going to do is I'm going to, just like we bridged here, I'm going to go ahead and bridge, because these 2 digits are the only digits that really come out from the thumb that we can see that stand on their own. Everything else is kind of buried in the fattiness of the hand. So what I'm going to do is approach it the same way we just did our the bridging of our knuckles. I'm going to do the same thing here. And notice if I try to ring, as soon as it hits this area right here, it won't go any farther. So when I connect, it just does this area. Well, that's actually kind of fine, because that's all that I really need is that vertice sitting right there to bridge to. But I know I'm going to want another segment running along here, so I'll just go ahead and select all those edges like that. So when we connect it, we're going to get that segment there anyway. Alright, so all we got to do now, these are the polygons that need to go away. So if we go into our border mode, we see that's a border, we see that's a border. So we're going to bridge that one to that one. Okay, so there we have it. And it looks like we have a little bit of an issue here because we didn't have the vertice running along. Well, actually, you know what? I think that's actually going to work out okay for us. But just to be sure, I do want to go ahead and let's select all these edges. I just want to be sure that things are going to work out for us. And I know that we'll leave that one alone. Okay, so connect this vertex. I'm going to remove Okay. So now everybody's got their mate. That's a border. That's a border. Bridge. This one to that. And it's still getting weird right there, but I think it'll be alright. So I'm going to select all those edges, and let's put like two segments in there. And if we look at our Turbo Smooth now, we can see that these new polygons don't know what smoothing group to be a part of. So let's go ahead and fix that. Go into Polygon, it automatically selects the new group. Clear, set it to 1. Okay. Now that's good to go. Now the only thing we have to do is make the visual adjustments. That, and I'm going to take these guys and pull them out. Okay, and even though it's not perfect at this point, pull that out a little bit, and we'll say that there's the hand. Okay. Now obviously we've got some size issues here. This is when I'll go ahead and do my paint deformation to quickly just get some size, a size idea of how I want this to look. Pull that up. Okay, let's see what that looks like. They said we're not really concerned that this is a perfect hand at this point because we can always tweak. The thing that we want to see is that we have everything kind of in place, and looks like everything's pretty much honestly in place here. I could make some adjustments right here, some fine tuning. Pull that one up. Pull this guy down. This guy down. Okay. Now I'm going to show you a trick, because now we need to start thinking about joining this part of the hand to the actual arm, and we've kind of got some issues going on right now because we need to kind of get rid of these vertices. So I'm going to show you a quick technique that you can do, because you know what, we're actually taking a look and see how this is all going to line up with our hand. But the thing that we know already is that these faces is what's going to go away and actually join the hand, the rest of our arm. But looking at it now, I'm thinking that what we're going to try to do is actually build out not just the hand, but actually go to the wrist and then go up a little ways to the forearm. So that will give me an opportunity to show you what I was talking about a minute, a little trick. So let's just go ahead and get to it. Alright, this segment right here, I'm going to cut a line across from here all the way across like so. I want this to come all the way across there, and we'll go ahead and bring that down. Okay, and I'll just go ahead and cut that the rest of the way. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that There's just one vertex there. Okay, there is. Alright, so what I want to have happen here is these extra vertices. Going to remove them. Remove, remove, remove. And now I'm going to select these guys and connect. Alright. So as it stands, I mean, it's not like it looks terrible. But one of the things that we might want to do is kind of ensure, as we can see, the turbo smooth is kind of doing it for us right now, but you know, we want to make sure our models are clean, and these vertices just coming down to the middle of nowhere right now really isn't a good practice for getting our polygons to flow correctly, and it's really kind of something that you want to pay attention to as a modeler. You know, sometimes that's the best thing you can do, is to let a vertice just stop right there. But this is an excellent place to take a look at a little technique that you can do to make sure that when you go from, instead of just having the vertices in, how we can actually work the cuts on the polygon so that it all makes sense. We maintain our quads like we have everywhere else right now. So, alright, without talking anymore, let's go ahead and look at what I'm going to do. I can see that I have a pair of extra edges here, and I have a pair of extra edges here. Okay, so what I'm essentially going to do is I'm going to connect these two and connect these two. Alright, here's how I'm going to do it. Go ahead and get a nice view here so you can see. Okay, I'm going to cut from this, and then I'm going to stop it about halfway, add a vertex, come across, add another one, and come up. Okay, so we'll do the same thing here, stop about halfway, and I'll just go ahead and halfway up, bring it back to that one. So as we can see, that edge comes down, meets and goes back up. That one meets and comes back up. Okay, the only problem is that now we've got a lot of vertices sitting on these polygons. Well, all we got to do is go from this edge to here, this edge to here, this edge to here, and that one to there. So as we can see, quad, 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 everything's quads. We just eliminated, went from a higher polygon count to a lower polygon count because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 edges, so 4 polygons along here, and it ends with just 1, 2. So we halve the resolution by doing this. Hopefully that makes sense. I hope it does. If not, you know, it's just one of those things you're gonna have to keep working at, and I'm sure we'll see opportunities to use this in the future. So anyway, we'll go ahead and move on. These are the polygons that we're essentially going to get rid of, but like I said, we're going to do the wrist on up to about halfway through the forearm. So we'll go ahead and extrude. And I'm just going to extrude one time. That's going to go about the distance that I want. Use my scale tool. Try to get the shape. And I'll just come in here and make some little adjustments. And notice I'm just trying to round this off a little bit. Okay, now I'll select all those edges, and you know what, I think that might work out pretty good. So again, we added new faces, our turbo smooth with our smoothing groups. This is gonna make a big separation, so we need to go into polygon mode, select, I'll just go ahead and select like that much. And make sure they're all set to 1. So as we can see, really smooth right on down. Okay, so here we could start making nice little adjustments if we would like to our wrist to try to get this shaped out to represent our hand, our wrist, the forearm area. We do lots of little things at this point. Things like pulling up. I can already see this is really bothering me the more and more I look at it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut from here on over. Bring this one down, and I'm going to make the same. And even though that little cut right there messed up, I'll just cut back to it, select on that one, remove it, and then select these two guys and connect them. Okay, so now we could work on the knuckle. And what I'm going to do is select on each of these vertices, because if we pull those up, that would actually kind of be our knuckle. And I'm going to chamfer the knuckles a little bit. And now all I got to do is come back in and connect it. So select take all these, connect, so we go across, and then and we could obviously do this with the cut tool as well. I'm just showing you another technique. Now notice they won't connect because we have a line in between them, so we're actually going to have to do the cut tool. So we'll just bring that to the middle, on up. We can take that one straight up to the middle and up to the middle and up. So now again, we select on the middle vertices and pull them up, and we've got ourselves some knuckles that we could do some sizing to. For example, we could pull this back, and here I'm going to use my edge constraint to push those down. And I mean, there's just a ton of things that we could do. It's just a matter of looking at what we have and kind of seeing what we could do with our knuckles, you know, with the mesh that we have laid out. If we have to add more segments, then we add more segments. It's not really a big deal. It's just a matter of you seeing what we have to work with and see if you can find a resolution. You know, a simple method, something that we can do that's going to actually give us the look that we want. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing I just did. If I can see my edges, this one. And something else, I'm not a big fan of the orange cage here, of the edible poly. You can actually change that color. Subdivision surface, show cage, so we can show it or not show it. Or you could show it and set this color to any color that you want. I prefer dark colors, but I mean, as you can see, it's really not a big deal. And we can see that this is the color of the cage, and the yellow represents what the selected edge looks like. So I could do something like that and clearly see what I've got selected. So just other things to be aware of. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing here. And make sure we turn off our edge constraint. Turn it back on when we need it. We just pulled that one up. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, I mean, obviously we've got some things that we could work on, but you know, it's the kind of thing we're going to come back to, and you're going to refine and refine until you really get the look that you want. Okay, so I'm pretty much happy with it. Obviously I'll spend some more time on it later, but I'm ready to go ahead and attach this to the rest of the body. So we'll delete that, and let's bring out the mesh, which is going to be this one. And obviously that hand's really large, so I'm going to scale this down. And kind of rotate it into place. So we can kind of see, you know, how big this is going to be. This is obviously going to be pretty big. So we're just positioning it right now, and this is one of the things I can tell right now that we're going to have a big overlap. So I'm just going to position that hand about where I think it should be. I'm not even concerned with where it's placed at the moment. So something like that will probably work. Now all we got to do is attach it. So I'm going to come in, and this extra line that we have, I'm going to get rid of. Okay, so now all we got to do is attach and kind of set this mesh up to receive our hand, and we can do some work to it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to hide our hand, go ahead and name it that, and let's hide that for a second. And we're going to come in here and select all these polygons. And I'm just going to select these one right here in the middle. Control page up and delete. And let's bring our hand back out. And I'm going to, let's just go ahead and kind of work these a little bit. It's about like that. And something like that will probably work. Okie dokie. Now let's just attach them. So edit geometry, attach our hand. One of the things that I actually don't want to do that because we still have our turbo smooth on. So because we only going to apply turbo smooth one time. So make sure that our mesh doesn't have it when we attach it. So editable poly attach. Because if we left it on when we did our turbo smooth, we would get twice the turbo smooth, and not really what we want. So okay, now it's just a matter of us being sure that everything's going to line up. And one of the great things, we can just say, you know what, let's see what happens. So border, bridge, and let's see what it looks like if it goes there. Notice it's going to figure it out. Alright, you know what? Good enough. Because we can do another trick. So I'll go to Polygon, and it selects those automatically, and Control Page Up. Okay, it selects all those. And now I'm going to come to our Edit Geometry, and we're going to relax it. Just like that. Okay. Now obviously old boy's got some really long arms, but it's alright. Let's make sure our smoothing group's clear. Set it just back to 1. Now all we would have to do is make some movements. We got lots of little things we can do here. I'm gonna select on all of that, and we can move this up and then over, and then we can do the same thing here, move them up and then over. So just like that, we can make our arms smaller, but I don't know, I kinda like the way he looks like that. He's big and unproportional as it is. So anyway, that's, it's kind of where I'm going to leave it for now. I just wanted to show you how we can go about doing using different geometry to create different parts and attach it as we need. The next one we'll look at making the refinements to this mesh, looking at adding the muscle definition and fixing some of the topology issues. But we'll leave it like this for now. Alright, thanks a lot. Bye.